Let's do some core work from the perspective of spine mobility. The musculature in the abdominals is responsible for flexing, extending, laterally flexing, and rotating the spine. They are also a really great supporter of how we breathe, how we stabilize our spine, brace our spine. Our abdominals also connect the upper and lower bodies to each other and the left and right halves. So any rotational movement that we're doing or full body movement, we are also using the abdominals to both move the body and support the body in those positions. So anytime you're doing core work, you are really using the abdominals to move the spine. That is the fundamental movement of ab workouts or core work. Therefore, if your spine lacks mobility or you lack awareness in the mobility of your spine, you're not going to get as much out of your core work as you would like. So let's break down some movements of the spine and then apply that to some traditional core work and see if you get a little bit deeper into those ranges of motion and those abdominals. We are going to focus specifically on spine flexion today, or anti-extension. So that is crunching the abs or rounding the spine and trying not to extend the spine or resisting spine extension. So we're going to start with a cat-cow. We're going to switch up the initiation of this cat-cow from either the top of the spine, which is basically the top of the neck, all the way to the base of the spine, which is your tailbone. So we have your tailbone and sacrum. We have 5 lumbar spine or lumbar vertebrae. We have 12 thoracic vertebrae and 7 cervical or neck vertebrae. So we are going to try to sequence through and move all of those individually. We'll focus on the movement of those vertebrae, and then we will focus on the capacity and the strength of the control over that articulation. So let's get started. We're going to go hands and knees. I like to open my hands out a little bit wider and turn those fingers out so that I am in a more stable position in my cat-cow. I also like to tuck those toes under so I'm able to generate a little bit more tension into the ground for more movement. So we're going to start this cat-cow from the top of the neck. So like I said, there's 7 cervical spine, 12 thoracic, and 5 lumbar. And then there's that sacrum and tailbone all the way down at the bottom. So we're going to focus on trying to move each of those individually. So from this hands and knees position, let's start by curling the chin up and in into the neck. So we're curling under here, rounding the neck. Nothing else is moving in the rest of the spine. We're slowly going to move up to the upper back. And we're going to roll through 1 vertebra at a time. I want you to imagine that you're trying to stamp 1 vertebra at a time onto the ceiling as you get into your mid-back. And as you round the spine, see if you can round the neck even further. And we're going to finish with the tailbone. Take a deep breath here. Really drive down through the floor with those feet and those fingertips to find more concaveness in the torso. And then let's reset. So imagine that your spine is a paintbrush, right? So we are trying to paint the ceiling with the bristles of the paintbrush for a nice smooth stroke. Or you can think of your spine as a stamp. You're trying to roll and stamp your spine up to the ceiling. All right, so let's go through that again. So we're going to curl the neck, the cervical spine for 7 counts, the thoracic for 12, and the lumbar for 5. 1 for each vertebrae, right? So go ahead and curl that chin to the chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Once we reach the base of the neck or the base of that cervical spine, we're going to go into the thoracic spine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Everything below that thoracic spine is staying nice and still. 9, 10, 11, 12. And now we've got our lumbar spine for the last 5. Go ahead and start to curl it under. 4, 3, 2, 1. Finishing with scooping that tailbone all the way underneath you. Take a deep breath here. And then let's reset, come back center. Let's do that one more time, starting from the top of the neck. Paint the ceiling with that paintbrush, rounding the spine, rounding the neck. Let's go into the upper back and the mid back. The best way to feel, if you're actually doing this one at a time, is to film yourself and then come back to it. If you don't have a hands-on coach with you and you're new to this movement, go ahead and film yourself so that you can really see where your spine is at in space. Let's go with the lumbar spine. Looking in a mirror won't really help because we'll be moving that neck around too much. So we just want to film yourself, take a look, and then come back to it. Take a deep breath here and reset. So let's apply that to some movement. So we're gonna do some spine roll ups and roll downs. So we're gonna grab a band, or if you have a towel, you could also do this without assistance if you'd like. We're gonna start on the floor. So you want some resistance on that band as you lie down. Legs are gonna be nice and straight. And we're gonna basically perform that same movement, but now we are moving the spine and the body through space. So keep those heels driving into the floor. We're going to start with that neck. So I want you to actually, instead of picking the head up first right away, I want you to actually think about pulling the chin down and bringing the back of your neck towards the floor. That's our real spine, our real neck flexion. So we're pulling the chin in, pulling the back of the neck to the floor, and then we're slowly going to peel the head off the floor and keep rounding that spine. So again, the goal for this is not necessarily to really sit up nice and tall. We're trying to get the spine in as rounded position as possible. So as I go up and up and up, I'm thinking about dropping my lower back into the floor to help round that spine. As we roll up, allow the band to take you up 1 inch at a time, rolling really, really slow, almost like you're trying to hug a really big beach ball, and then sit up with the beach ball. So we're continuing to round that spine, keep that tailbone scooped under, and keep that lower back rounded as we sit up. Staying in this round flexed position. You almost want your shoulders to be on top of the hips, but still in this rounded position here. And then we can sit all the way up, release, and roll all the way back down. Let's try that again. As you exhale, drop the back of the neck into the floor, chin to the chest. You're slowly going to pick that head up, drop the back of the rib cage down, drop that lower back down to the floor, rounding that spine. Again, it's not about how easily you can sit up, but how round you can get your spine here. Keeping that tailbone scooped under. We're trying to sit the shoulders on top of the hips with that spine nice and round. And then we can sit all the way up. And we're going to do that one more time. This time I'm going to show you without assistance. From this low position, we're going to bring the back of the neck to the floor, chin to the chest, or chin to the neck. Pick that head up very slowly, starting to round and peel that spine off. So now we're focusing on peeling the spine off the floor, one vertebra at a time. Nice and slow. Try not to use momentum. Try to really round through that spine. Keep that lower back around as we sit up very, very slowly. Pulling the shoulders on top of the hips. Keep that roundness in the spine. And rest. Now we can also reverse that movement coming down, which will start the sequence from the tailbone. So let's try a couple of roll downs, and then we can progress that into our next core exercise. So you can grab your band again if you were assisting, or if you're doing that without assistance. From the top here, sitting up nice and tall, now we're going to imagine we're just laying each vertebra at a time on the floor. Okay, so now we have a tactile barrier to reach each vertebra of the spine to really feel like we are sequencing into that spinal flexion from the tailbone. So we want to be able to sequence both from the top, from the neck, and from the bottom, the tailbone. So sitting up nice and tall, We're slowly going to scoop the tailbone under and lay the tailbone on the floor, moving up through the sacrum. You can round the upper back here as well, and that chin to the neck. Slowly rolling down. We're going to move to the lumbar, placing those 5 lumbar spine on the floor one at a time. Nice and slow, so we don't want the ribs hitting the floor before that low back. With the low back to hit the floor first, then that back of the rib cage is going to place down. Top of the back, all the way through the back of the neck, and then release. Let's just do a roll up for 5. We could do this one in 5 counts, and rolling up for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sitting up nice and tall. Let's do that again. Rolling down really slow. We're scooping the tailbone under. Getting that tailbone on the floor first, laying that sacrum down. We're just laying out one vertebra at a time here. Don't skip the lower back. So try not to just skip straight to the mid back here. We want to sink that lower back into the floor. Very slowly, keep breathing throughout this movement. Each time you put a vertebra down on the floor, see if you can round that spine a little bit more before you get to the next one. We want this all nice and slow and controlled. Get the back of that neck down before we extend and release. And then let's come on up. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. If that was easy enough for you, you can either slacken up on the band or put it to the side. We're going to go again. Last rep. We're rolling down through that spine. Control is the name of the game here. Rounding, laying the sacrum and the tailbone on the floor, and then working through that lower back. Try to keep those heels planted. Don't skip that lower back. Control each and every inch. We're just laying that spine flat on the floor as we come all the way down, all the way through the upper back. And then bring the back of the neck into the floor to release. And then let's roll up. So now we're working into spinal flexion. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And come on up. Very nice. So let's move on. We're going to go into a reverse crunch. So we're going to do this one with something to press up into or to pull up on behind you. So if you have like a couch to press up into or a heavy weight like a kettlebell that's not going to roll away from you or towards you, that's great to pull up into as well. If you have something like solid like a squat rack to hold on to as well, that will also work. So we're going to lie on your back. Make sure that you don't hit your head as you line yourself up. You want to be pretty close to that kettlebell or whatever you're pushing up into. And then the modified version, we can bring our feet to a surface like a bench or a chair or a wall. And we're going to sequence into spinal flexion again, starting with that tailbone, okay? So grab onto your kettlebell. The elbows are going to be up and in. This is going to allow you to access those lats to really stabilize this position as well. The lats connect all the way down into your hip. So those are great muscles to help stabilize the torso, and they're not usually considered to be muscles of the core, but they do connect all the way down into the hips. So elbows are up so that we can really connect to those lats by drawing those shoulders down. We're slowly going to sequence off the floor. You can press your feet down or into your surface, or if you're against a wall, pushing into the wall. We're going to scoop that tailbone under first. And we're going to sequence. Now we're peeling the spine off of the floor one vertebra at a time. This is going to really help you feel that spine flexion. So it's like we're going into a bridge here, okay? We don't want to go up so high with the hips that the spine starts to arch, okay? We want to really keep those hips at a lower level so that we can feel that spine flexion. No flaring of the rib cage or extending of the spine. I'm going to keep the tailbone scooped under and the back of the rib cage on the floor. Once you can't go any higher, if this feels solid, you can lift one leg away from the surface, pull up on your kettlebell or push up into your couch, and then see if you can let the other leg go, maintaining that spine flexion. And here's where the real work begins. We're going to sequence back down, starting from the top of the spine. So if we were able to pull a little bit further over into that position, now we're going to lay the spine flat on the floor, starting with the upper back and working our way down. Now, if you pull your knees into your chest, we're going to have a little bit of an easier time sequencing that spine down. If you feel like you can progress this, bring your legs a little further away from you, but make sure we're not crashing those hips to the ground, especially as we get to that lumbar spine. Try to keep the hips off of the floor for as long as possible before you bring them back down. Okay, let's do that 2 more times. So we're going to push into the bench or the wall, whatever you are against. We're going to roll those hips off of the floor, working through that spinal flexion. Once we're at the top, we're going to lift one leg at a time off. Pull up on that kettlebell, rounding the spine here. At this point, we want to try not to collapse too much. Want to try to keep those legs away from the chest. As you roll down, you can kind of bring them in a little bit if you need that assistance. But if not, we're going to try to keep this nice open position of the torso to help load the spine and those abdominals more. Keep the hips off the ground for as long as possible till the very end. And then we'll do 1 more rep. This time, if you'd like to progress, you could just keep those feet off of the floor. Pull up really hard on that kettlebell as you start to round the spine and lift the hips. Again, we are working with control of this movement, so we're not trying to hoist the hips up and over really quickly. We're trying to find that round spine. And once we've got to the top, we can slowly roll it back down, sequencing 1 vertebra at a time, pulling up on that bell. Keep going for 3, 2, 1. And slowly bring those hips down. All right, so we've worked through sequencing of the spine, both going into spinal flexion and resisting that spinal flexion from the top and from the bottom. Let's work on maintaining some spine flexion and engagement of the abdominals with a dead bug. So you're going to grab a broomstick, a dowel, or a stick mobility stick if you have one. If not, you could just press your hands into the top of your thighs. But we're going to lie on your back and we're going to do our basic dead bug progressions. So we're going to hold this stick right on top of your belly button and make sure those arms are straight so you can walk them out to the sides a little bit in order to keep those arms straight. Make sure, again, that those shoulders are down away from the ears. We want to engage those lats to also help support that spine. And then let's lift 1 leg at a time up to the stick. And as you lift that second leg, I want you to think about that spinal flexion. We're going to drive that back of the lower back into the floor, almost as if there's a marshmallow under your lower back. We're going to squish that marshmallow, and that's going to stay squished the entire time. I want you to press the stick into the legs or your hands into your thighs, and the legs are going to push back into the stick. So we're going to find that tension in that dead bug position. We're going to hold here for another 10 counts. I want you to think about a rubber band connecting the bottom of the rib cage and the top of the hips towards each other here. And we're holding and maintaining that tension. Make sure that the knees are bent at 90 degrees, so you don't want those feet up too high or too low this way. And make sure those feet are nice and flexed. Increase that tension for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Now the dead bug, you're going to get the most out of it if you use more tension. So if you're looking to really work those abdominals, add more tension to the stick, pushing into the legs. Legs will push back into the stick, and you'll get a lot of work out of it. So let's get back into that dead bug position and let's progress it. So we're going to find that tension between the stick and the legs, engaging those abdominals, squishing the marshmallow, and then we're going to extend that left leg up towards the ceiling, maintaining contact with the stick. So we are still trying to flex that spine, but now we are extending one leg up towards the ceiling, and as you bend that knee, try to find more tension on that stick. And then let's extend the right leg up towards the ceiling. Try to reach through that heel. Just because you're extending that leg, try not to let it fall away from the stick. Try not to let that tension go away. So keep the tension on the stick with that right leg as you're extending. Bend that knee. We're going to do that one more time on each side. Extend the left leg up. Keep that spine flexed. Stick pushing into the legs pushing back into the stick. Bring that leg down. Find more tension on that stick. Keep that marshmallow squished as we extend the right leg. Hold. 3, 2, 1. Bring that right leg down. And release. Nice. We're going to do one more rep of that dead bug. This time the leg is going to extend away from you. The higher away from the floor that leg is, the easier it's going to be. The lower it is, the easier it's going to be to go into that spine extension, which is exactly what we're trying to resist in this movement. We want to keep that spine round and flexed as that leg reaches away. So if the lower back is coming off the floor and you're falling into that spine extension, just lift that leg up a little bit higher. So here we go. Finding that dead bug position, we want the stick pressing into the legs pushing back into the stick. We're finding that tension in the abdominals. And let's extend the left leg towards the floor first, away from your body. The lower the leg is, the harder it is to keep that spine flexed. And bring the left leg in, reset, find more tension on that stick, and reach the right leg. And bring the right leg in. Remember to breathe. Let's add the neck into this. So let's pull the back of the neck to the floor. Lift that head 1 inch away from the floor. So we've got some spine flexion in the cervical spine as well. As we reach the left leg away, hold. And coming back center, find more tension on that stick. Keep that marshmallow squished beneath the low back. Hold. Come back in. And slowly lower. And release. So we have one more challenge. This one is going to be also resisting spine extension, but the spine itself is going to be extended. So we are more resisting excessive spine extension. We're going to do a natural leg extension, which is also going to work the hips and the quads. So if those dead bugs, if that spine movement was a lot for you, you can watch these and just incorporate them next time you come back to try this video. But we're going to try our natural leg extension. The goal is to keep the hips away from the heels. Okay, so we don't want to let those hips drop. And to keep the spine extended. So we don't want to overextend that spine. We want to keep that almost dead bug feeling that we were working just a few moments ago. So we're going to do this with assistance first. We could do this in a couple of different ways with our sticks or with a band. So I will show you both. I'll show you with the sticks first. So you're going to press the sticks into the corner where the wall meets the floor. And you're going to grab the sticks underneath your armpits. You can tuck the toes under or keep the top of the feet on the floor. You're going to engage the abdominals like we have that rubber band, okay? And we're going to slowly let yourself fall back towards the wall, keeping the hips away from the heels and trying not to overextend that spine. And then you're going to pull yourself back up, okay? Here's your first progression. This is the easiest one. And then you're going to pull yourself back up. If that one feels really good to you, we're going to keep going into our next progression, which is facing the wall with your band or towel again. So now we're leaning away from your surface. And pulling yourself back up. Okay, especially if you have a band, this one's gonna feel less stable, and it's gonna allow you to get a little bit deeper into that range of motion. Again, make sure we're not arching towards the floor or letting those hips fall. Pull yourself back up. Okay, we're gonna do 2 more. This time I'll show you the last progression, which is no assistance at all. I'm leaning back. I'm feeling my abdominals engaged to support the spine in this position. And pulling back up. And let's go one more time. Pulling back into that natural leg extension. And all the way back up. So that last example was a really great way of showing how the abdominals can keep the spine and the body moving as one cohesive unit as you're doing something that targets other parts of the body, like the natural leg extension, which targets the knees and the quads, right? So we need that abdominal strength to help keep the spine in an optimal position for a nice execution of that drill. Same thing goes for the push-up. As we go into push-up, one of the easiest compensations, or one of the most common compensations, is extending by dropping the hips. We want to keep that spine from giving into gravity, extending even more as we go down to push back up. We can even overextend from the bottom. That's where we see the chest come up before the hips. We want to, again, resist the spine extension by thinking of that spine flexion. That's going to keep the spine and the body moving as one unit. I hope you learned something about your spine movement and core today. If you have any questions on these movements, drop them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.